Do you feel like your money isn't going far enough? In 2026, that feeling isn't just a hunch, it's the reality of a changing economy. While many are watching their purchasing power slowly dissolve, Bob has decided to play a different game. Bob didn't start with a massive inheritance or a Silicon Valley salary. He started with a single, non-negotiable commitment: $100 a week. In this video, we are tracking Bob's 20-year blueprint, a journey from a simple weekly contribution to a dual-engine wealth machine that provides more income than some 40-hour-a-week jobs. We're going to look at whether passive income or a net worth is better for his lifestyle. We'll look at the math of compound interest, the tax reality check Bob faces at year 10, and how he leverages the stock market to build a real estate empire. Bob's strategy begins with a high-efficiency growth engine, VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. By allocating $100 every Monday morning, Bob is buying into the 500 largest, most successful companies in America. As of April 2026, Bob's research shows that the S&P 500 has maintained a historical average annual return of 14% over the last decade. Bob isn't trying to time the market. He is letting time do the heavy lifting for him. After 120 months of discipline, Bob's account has grown to approximately $108,000. Of that total, only $52,000 came from his personal investment. The remaining $56,000 is pure market growth. At this point, Bob has a decision to make. He could continue to invest and let that money grow in the stock portfolio, and at this pace, in another 10 years, that portfolio would be worth roughly $508,000, assuming the same 14% rate of return from the previous decade. However, there is an unavoidable issue with this strategy. The total amount of money earned from appreciation in this account is roughly $404,000. While this account would provide him a healthy $5,800 a year in dividends based on VOO's current approximate yield of 1.16%, not only would he have to pay taxes on that income, he would have to pay taxes on the profit taken, which would eat a substantial amount of money, taking away several years of hard work and investing. This is where Bob had to dig deep to find an alternative means of creating wealth. Since his stock account is currently worth $108,000 because he is still at the 10-year mark, he decides to sell $66,500 of his stock portfolio, leaving $41,500 in this account, which he is still allocating his $100 a week towards. This action does, unfortunately, trigger a taxable event, leaving him with roughly $60,000 after paying the IRS their part. On the flip side, he now has $60,000 liquid cash to begin another investment adventure. Bob uses his $60,000 to purchase a $300,000 residential property. Why would he leave a 14% return in the stock market to buy a house? One word: leverage. Bob is using $60,000 of his own money to control a $300,000 asset. If that house goes up just 3% in value, Bob makes $9,000 in equity growth. On his $60,000 investment, that is a 15% return from appreciation alone, and that's before we even talk about the rent. This would leave him with a mortgage of $240,000 on the house, using the current average mortgage rate of 6.2%. On a 30-year fixed-rate loan leaves Bob's principal and interest payments at $1,470 per month. As for expenses, he budgets $495 per month for insurance, taxes, and maintenance, bringing his total PITI to $1,965. Bob has done his research for his local market and understands that a property such as the one he purchased will rent for $2,200 per month, leaving him with a monthly cash flow of $235. The real win with this strategy is the tax shield. Through depreciation, he claims a $10,900 annual tax deduction, and since the interest on the mortgage is $1,240, he also gets to deduct this amount from his income. Think about the beauty of this for a moment. Bob is now generating roughly $3,000 a year through mortgage paydown, and he is not even the one paying it. He is hardly paying anything in taxes as his deductions consume almost all of his rental income, and to top it all off, he now has an extra $235 a month he can add to his $100 weekly stock investment. Over the course of the next decade, we have arrived at the 20-year mark. Bob has been consistent maintaining his weekly investing and his rental property. Here is how his wealth is looking now. He has an asset that is worth approximately $403,000, assuming a 3% annual appreciation. His mortgage has been paid down to $202,000, leaving him with nearly $201,000 in equity in one single property. The feedback loop with the extra $235 a month in cash flow he began adding to his weekly $100 investment, bringing the total amount in his stock portfolio to a cool $166,000. By combining the total of these two investments, you get an extremely tax-advantaged net worth of $368,000. Bob is now presented with three choices. He can either cash out and sell the property, only paying taxes on the $103,000 from capital appreciation. He can leverage the equity in the rental to buy another, thus adding an even stronger compounding effect to his wealth. Or he can refinance the remaining $202,000 on the property, bringing his mortgage down to $1,237. When subtracting this from the rent, after 10 years of 3% annual rent increases, which brings the rent to $2,950, we also have to account for a 3% increase in expenses as well, bringing them from the original $495 per month to $665. This would give Bob a yearly income of $12,576 from his rental property. When combining this with the annual dividend yield from VOO of $1,925, this brings his yearly passive income to a nice $14,501, which represents a 3.9% total yield from his portfolio, while still having that same explosive growth from owning both assets. This option is definitely Bob's favorite choice, as it provides the highest level of lifestyle comfort. This is Bob's blueprint. It's not a recommendation or a guarantee for you, but it's the logical path Bob is taking for his own financial future. Bob will be right here, tracking every dividend and every rent check. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to follow Bob on his other investing adventures.